Hi folks, Jeff Hetherington, the Profitability Coach, here on what is a beautiful, beautiful summer's day. You can probably hear the birds in the trees behind me, drowning out the traffic, which is a welcome change. Earlier this week I went and did a facilitation session for a very venerable organisation that's been around in Australia since 1921. Globally it's been around since 1905 and it's dying. The organisation's dying. And part of the facilitation was looking at why it was dying and what they wanted to do about it. It became increasingly clear that this organisation had reduced the field of its relevance. By that, what I mean is, I've spoken before about how important it is for you and your business to be relevant to your marketplace. Once you start losing relevance, you start losing customers, you lose income, and you're on the death spiral. So this particular organisation probably had its heyday with the baby boom. In fact, there's a cohort of baby boomers moving through it as they age. So the average age of this organisation is now 60, at least up here on the Central Coast. Globally, I think the average age is about 58. So there's not a lot of young people there, yet young people or younger people are the ones that bring along fresh perspectives and innovation, things like that. The key thing is they're still very relevant to a number of areas. They do an awful lot of good community work. So globally, they were one of the organisations that really led the fight against polio. Locally, they run scholarships for youth, for education. They help homeless people. They do a lot of very, very good work. So they're still relevant to the community in a large degree. But the relevance of the organisation to its membership or to bring in new members is quite different. They're having difficulty attracting new members or younger members because their meetings are run along very traditional guidelines. They play the national anthem. They say a non-denominational grace at the beginning. They have fines, fun fines they call them, to raise money. It's probably a couple of grand a year to be a member of this organisation, so it's not necessarily cheap. There's a number of things there. But for the people in it, what they get out of it is this sense of fellowship. They've got staunch friendships. A lot of these people have been involved for 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. So they stay not so much for the trappings and for the traditions. They stay for their friends. It's a bit like being in the armed services. When you boil it down, at the end of the day, you go to war because your commanders tell you to, but you fight for the person next to you, not necessarily for a huge lofty ideal. So that's really what's happening in this organisation. These people are staying for the fellowship, the people they know, primarily, and secondly, because they like doing good works, and thirdly, because so many of them are probably retired. It gives them something worthwhile to do, and it keeps them mentally agile, which is great. So how does this apply to you and your business? I've spoken before, and I'll continue to speak about relevancy. Your business has to stay relevant to its marketplace, or it has to become relevant in a different marketplace in order for it to survive and hopefully to grow. If you're not relevant anymore to your existing marketplace, or you're not becoming relevant to a new marketplace, your business will die. Simple as that. There's a lens we need to be putting everyone we want to work with through, or rather a lens we need to put our business and its solutions to problems through. And that's this quite simple one. Every human being wants four things. They want more time, more money, less stress, and most of all, they want a better life. In fact, the first three things combine to provide the fourth thing. So, more time, more money, less stress. They're probably the key factors that we need to be looking at in our business. So, when we're trying to stay relevant, that means we need to be attracting the right people. But before we do that, we need to look at what's the problem we solve. The problem we solve, we need to decide, is it still relevant to today's marketplace? Is this still a problem that are going to keep people awake at 3 a.m? Or is it a frivolous problem? A problem, it's an irritant, but compared to other bigger problems, people aren't going to worry about. Because if the problem you solve is at the irritant level, instead of the lying awake at 3 a.m. in the morning level, then it's going to be really hard to get people involved. The thing is, the internet and Facebook and all these things have been fantastic, but what they've done is they've created a million channel world. And there are a lot of people talking about exactly the same things you and I talk about. And we have to find a way to cut through that noise in order to establish our relevancy, our credibility, and our expertise to the people we want to work with. Or we're just part of the noise. That's why too many people, when they're putting together their client avatars, they focus on demographics, Bill, 2 kids, suburban living, earns X dollars, drives a Holden, watches... All that's fine. All that demographic stuff's fine, and you need it. That's part of the avatar, but it's this much. It's the psychographics you need to be looking at. It literally is. What's the pain point in their life? What are their hopes? What are their fears? What are their frustrations? What are their aspirations? What do they want to get out of life? What's the thing that literally does have them waking up in a cold sweat at 3 a.m? If you're not doing that sort of planning for your business, if you're not thinking that way about your business, if you're just hoping to keep rolling on because you've been successful the last 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, the chances are over the next 2 or 3 years, your relevancy is going to start sliding, and you'll eventually end up wondering where all the customers have gone, why the cash flow's getting tight. Bird life, isn't it great? Anyway, it's so important that you do your planning properly and you think about it. Again, I've said it before, and I'm not going to beat the dead horse now. There's a planning day coming up. If you're interested, put a comment down below, for heaven's sake, and let me know. Otherwise, I'll just take it as not any use, and I won't worry about going ahead with it. But the key thing is, in order to stay relevant to your marketplace, you need to be looking at what you're doing, and you need to be looking at how important the problem you're solving for people is in the current marketplace. In light of what's happened with 2020, a lot of the problems people were solving are no longer relevant. They just don't matter anymore. And in fact, new problems have arisen. And that's why companies like Zoom have done so well, because with Zoom, they've answered a real problem, which is, how do I stay in touch with my staff? How do I run my business? How do I talk to my customers? So no wonder they've taken off. So anyway, with your business, do a relevancy check. What's the key problem I solve? Is it still a big problem? Is it the type of problem that's going to keep people awake in a cold sweat at 3 a.m? Or is it a smaller problem? Has it become a frivolous problem? Because if it has, you need to rejig your business and look at what you're doing. Okay, I'm Jeff Hetherington. Be well, stay safe, take care. I'll talk to you again soon.